Hello, Daniel here again. Welcome this time to this training video to help and assist you through the use of the case noting system, for which is where we keep all our clinical records in front desk. I'm going to go through a few things here in this particular session. General case noting, how to access them, some neat and tricky little shortcuts that will help you and hopefully save you time with your case noting, how to add attachments, for such as reports that you may have received or referrals, and also how to use templates, again, for reports or case noting. So what you'll see here in front of us here is we've got a dummy client, a brand new client that I've just created for the use of this exercise. So to access the case notes, all you do is basically double click on that client and you'll see their general profile opens up. And then you'll see what should be your second little tab here. If not, you just need to scroll across using these functions here, but hopefully we've set it up okay for you so that it is second. By the way, if you want to change that, just hover over that right click. You can actually go edit the order of that, and all you do is just find the case notes and you can move that up and down. So if that hasn't been done already, I like to put it second because it is one that you do access quite regularly. So what you're going to do here is click on, obviously, clinical notes. And you'll see that it actually goes to a much larger screen. So you'll see this is a very blank canvas, a brand new client, and let's say it's the first note that we're creating for the very first time. So what you're going to go over to the right and click New Note, and you're going to see here an option, and that option is to basically choose either a treatment or a history. The rule of thumb that we're going to keep within our business is that treatments are all your sessions, essentially, whether that's a treatment session, an exercise session, a dietetic session. This is the times where you've actually physically been with the client conducting a session or treatment. Your histories are everything else. So it might be a simple phone call that you made and you're making a case note about that. It might be a report. It might be something you've scanned in. And that's just going to help us identify and find things a little bit later. So, and I might show you that a little bit later on. But the rule of thumb is treatment. Every time you're physically with the client, your histories are everything else. So I'm going to do a treatment in this matter. And then you just basically hit OK under that. And you see it brings up a very blank canvas. It's defaulted to today's date, and that's the date of this particular recording, and it's defaulted to the practitioner for which that appointment was in, but you can change that. You can change that by just hitting the drop-down box here and scrolling, scrolling through your particular name, but in this case I might, leave it to where it was, and if you've made a mistake, you can also change the history or the treatment there as well. What you can notice about the case note is you can actually double click in this area here, and what you're going to find is it opens up almost like a Word document. So you can see that in a much bigger format if that's what you want to do, and you just simply just type away there, and when I close that up, hit save on that, it will appear just in that format there. You don't have to do that. You can just open up from this particular format here just type your case notes that you might want to in that particular spot there. What I'm also going to just point you to up the top here is a particular additional box here that's called reminders, warnings, and contraindications. So what I'll do here is I'll just put some random information in here, such as this patient has a disc bulge at C7. They also might have diabetes, and they might also have some other things going on as well. What this here is exactly as described: reminders, warnings, and contraindications. All right, so and this is really what needs to stay top of mind with that particular client. This is why they're here. This is the really important information that you need to see every single time. And what I'm going to do just very quickly actually is just add a few more case notes through here and just add some random data in those. And I might add another one here just for the sake of the exercise. All right, and what you'll see now is no matter what case note I click on, this information doesn't change. So as I click through these case notes, the case note itself changes, but these reminders, warnings, and contraindications don't change. So that's a really important feature. It really helps, perhaps if you're looking after a client that you don't normally look after, it helps those really important factors stay top of mind. All right, so be really descriptive in this information. Be really clear on why it is that that client is there. So if it's a disc bulge, and that's why you're treating them, and that's perhaps why they're there, then just make sure you indicate that. And it might be that referral was made, for this, and these are other health history, for example. So this really gives you an indication of, what is the primary reason that that client is there, and then what are the other contraindications or other health histories that you want to make. So whether it's that type of wording, but certainly that's what you want to indicate, is those sorts of things. All right. So what I'm just going to do, just to clean this up a little bit, I'm just going to delete these other notes. I don't ever suspect you will need to do that, but if you haven't made a mistake, you want to delete a note, that's how you do that. So yeah, what we've got here is a clinical note. All right. What I'm going to show you now, and I'm going to use the exercise physiology example of our how to access templates. So we do have a template for our exercise sessions that we do with people. So I just click on templates here, and I'm just going to scroll down and find that. I will come back to this and show you some reports and things, but I'm just going to stick with the showing of clinical notes and how to use those. So here's the private session template. So that's actually, now I've clicked on that, is actually a template on how to access and use for each exercise session that you do. And we might have this for our dietitians, we might have this for our physios and alike as well. So, but just for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to use the exercise physiology one just to show you a particular key feature here. I'm just going to scroll down here, and in fact, why don't I double click this and make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. And what I'm going to show you here is how to save yourself some time. And the reason that you might want to save yourself some time is because the exercise session from session to session may not change dramatically, and the last thing we want to do is have to type out that whole session every single time. So I'm just going to put some random information in here. 10 minutes rower, okay, seated row, and it might be 10 kilograms. Oops, 10 kilograms, 2 sets. Okay, there might also be a Bosu squat, and that might be 2 sets of 20, for example, and there might be some flexibility, a hamstring stretch. Typing poorly, hamstring stretch, piriformis release. And then obviously, I'm being very brief here, there'd obviously be more information here. So I'll click there, save that. All right, so let's assume that I've done a particular session with this client, and I'm just ignoring this top section at the moment, just focusing down here in the exercise prescription part. So this is a session that I've done, and the next session that they come in, that may not change dramatically. There might be some slight variations, but it really saves us having to type all of this out. And I'll show you how to do that. And what I'm going to do is take new note. And what I'm going to do here is just click copy current note. And what that's going to completely do is completely copy the most previous note that you were clicked on. All right, and that allows me now, and you'll see here down the bottom, allows me to have that exact exercise information, exercise prescription still there, because it's likely that that exercise session was exactly the same. And if there was a few changes, well, I can add those changes in here. I can say, well, I've also added a hip flexor stretch, and I've actually now upped this to 12 kilograms, and I've also added some treadmill work, and you obviously be more descriptive than that, but and you can make those amendments on the run. So now I've corrected that note, and the next session, same thing. I go new note, copy current note, and away we go, and there all those updates are there. And the same thing, I can make the amendment yet again. So I've gone now 15 minutes. I've added X exercise. I've added Y stretch. I might have even taken this stretch out for whatever reason that might be. And I can indicate that here as we go. All right, so that's a really key feature, a really important feature. It saves us a lot of time, and you're making the amendments on the run. What if it comes time now for me to do a report? So this is where I'm going to show you now and go back to the templates as well. So what I'm going to do is hit New Note. In this particular case, remember I'm not copying current note because it's a report that I'm doing. And what I'm also doing, because it's not a physical session, remember the rule of thumb being your treatments are every time that you're with a client. And your histories are everything else. In this case, therefore, it's going to be a history. So what I'm going to do is click on history, click OK, and brings up a very blank canvas here. What I'm going to do now is to access some templates. So we do have the templates in there. All right. So you'll see, and you just scroll through all the particular templates here. What you're going to notice about the templates is they're all grouped together. So the naming convention of these templates is, all the EPC ones are together. I'll scroll down and, there's letterheads together. There's some nutritional documents together. The physio documents are together. Private. And work cover, etc. So you see them there. So why don't I use an EPC letter as an example? So we'll go up to EPC, and here's the initial EPC letter. So if I wanted to use that as my template, I just double click there, and you'll see here that opens up. And why don't I double click here to make that a little bit bigger, to make it a bit more visual, and you'll see there's a template that opens up here. Because this is a client that I've created just as a test version, there is a lot of information missing in this person's profile, but what this template has the smarts to do is actually insert a lot of information. So it's already inserted the date. You'll see what will happen here is the doctor's name and telephone number should insert if you've set the client up correctly. The doctor's name will appear here. You'll see the client's name appearing, and some other functions as well. So it will template a lot of the pre-information, but obviously you'll need to go through and actually type out this. So that's certainly a crash course in how to access the templates, and you can have a look at that in your own time. I won't go through each and every individual template. That'll need to happen in the service delivery module training, but that's just a bit of a crash course on how to access and use those templates and how effective the system is at doing so. Yep, why don't I save that? What I'll do now is also show you how to add attachments. All right, so you see there's a couple of sessions through here, being a little bit slow now. A couple of sessions, and then what we've got is a report. Perhaps I've received a fax or a scan back from a doctor, and I want to add that into the patient's file. So again, I'm going New Note. It's not a physical session. It's something else. So I'm going to hit History. And I'm going to go there. Now, what you can do is you can just give a little brief indication, perhaps, of what you're going to attach. So it might be copy of MRI report, for example. All right, so I'm going to put that there. Now, what I'm going to do very briefly is over here, select attachment. And then I can just basically browse for that attachment. So it will be important that attachment is already on your desktop, your remote desktop, so you would have need to have placed that, somewhere in here. Oh, you'll see me, I actually have a scanned folder where I put all my scanned information somewhere, which I'm struggling to find. There it is here. So, I generally put things in here so it's a little bit easy to find. So if I scan something in, I throw it in this folder, and then, as you'll see, if I come back to front desk, I can pick that up a lot easier. So that's, I've already done that recently, but you just search for your scan folder, and then you pick up, I might use, I might just use this first document example, just double click OK, and there that document appears there. So let's assume and pretend that was a copy of an MRI report, and it's not like normal. You just double click on that, open it up, and there it would appear. So some more functionality there about how to make attachments. The final thing I want to show you in this little setup here is also the tracking of client sessions. So in the exercise physiology template, there is a way in which that we can do that very easily as well. So what I might do is just delete these to clean up this a little bit and help with this training module. There we go. I'll delete that as well. In fact, why don't I delete these two and we will start from scratch. Okay. So for the exercise physiologist, this is the private template that we use as suggested before. And what you're going to see in this section here is where it says session numbers versus sessions purchased or date of direct debit renewal. So in this particular example, it really matters how the client is essentially paying. Have they bought a pack? For example, they may have bought a 50 pack, and I'm going to use that as the very first example here. So this, for example, in that case would be session 1 of 50. Now, let's say they come back the next time. We'll go through the same exercise we did before. New note, copy current note, and there it is, and there's 1 of 50. So the very first thing that you need to do is actually change this now, because that's now session 2 of 50. All right, and the same deal, new note, copy current note, and the very first thing you need to do while you do that is go session 3 of 50. And then you see it actually tracks it as you go. And then as long as you do that first, you can, as you copy the current note, you can then make your amendments down here as we discussed before. So that's a really effective way, as long as it's kept nice and tight, nice and accurate, a really effective way of counting their sessions. Why don't I go back here and delete these to clean this up? The other example is, of course, and this is where most people we're finding these days are doing a direct debit style of payment. And in that case, all you need to put in here is the direct debit renewal. So I'll use a very brief example of 1st of December 2015. Right. Now, the beauty about that is when I go new note, copy current note, I don't need to change this. I don't need to change this at all, in fact, because, it's there, it's top of mind. It tells me that their direct debit renewals are 1st of December, but that doesn't change until the 1st of December. And once that happens and they re-sign, hopefully, you can now change that to their new direct debit renewal date. And look, I might put the 1st of June 2016 as an example now. All right, so that's also an effective way of tracking their sessions within their case notes. I'm using this private client template as an example, but it might be an EPC. So it might be EPC 1 of 5, and the next one becomes EPC 2 of 5. It might be a diabetes health program. It might be work cover. The same principles apply in terms of tracking of sessions. So that there wraps up our crash course in the use of case noting and what to do. I haven't necessarily gone into each and every individual case note. It wasn't designed to do that. That will happen in the training of the service delivery modules. But it was just a way of training you on a few things, and that is how to create a new case note, how to change dates or change the practitioner, the use of the treatment or history, how to copy current notes and make that a little bit faster, how to access the templates over here, and also how to make attachments into the person's file. So good luck with it. Hope it all makes sense, but if not, of course, your managers or myself are certainly a point in which you can ask some questions. Thanks, guys.